As a black person that has been stopped before, most officers will say, for example, I have 3 questions for you that you do have to answer. But after those questions, you're so engaged and programmed into answering questions that one will be slid in that will lead into about 5 minutes of questioning, and you even had no idea that was going to happen.
Exactly.
It took me a while before I caught on to that.
It's called verbal judo.
It's like, are you on probation or parole? That's the first one. Once you answer yes to that,
verbal judo.
It opens up an entire onslaught of questions. If you say no, then they have to be more strategic with the next 2 questions.
Exactly.
Regardless, those next 2 questions are there, to get you comfortable with just talking in general. And then a question just slides in there that just brings the slopes down. Yeah. And you put yourself in a situation where you're answering questions you don't even have to be answering.
A lot of times they'll act like they're about ready to leave, and then they'll be like, oh, wait, one more thing? That's the question that you got to watch out for.
What did you say it was called again?
One more thing.
They call it verbal judo.
Judo.
It's also used to de-escalate situations if you use it the right way. But a lot of times they use it to incriminate people.
Wow. They're finding stuff. That's I
remember years back, my son, after 2 people were murdered here in Southeast, we were having a town hall meeting at Jacob Center, and my son and his friends were coming from the youth center that used to be across the street, across next to churches, and these gang unit officers stopped them. And my son had on red shoes, and some of the kids had on red shirts and things like that. And so the officer asked them their names, and then he said, "What school do you go to?" "Lincoln Park." And my son looked, he said, "No, I go to Lincoln High." So if he had answered yes, the probability of him being documented as a Lincoln Park gang member would have been high. And so it's those types of questions, the difference between Lincoln Park and Lincoln High. And so those types of questions that will get people caught up. And so I'm thankful that, my kids were trained strategically on how to answer questions and how to deal with stops, whether they're walking, or stops, whether they're in a vehicle. And so, my kids, fortunately enough, have not had to, necessarily deal with the things that we see on video today because of the language that they're able to use.
Definitely. I hope that a lot of listeners can listen in and learn from Mama Tasha.